The end of the transfer window is approaching, and Liverpool Football Club are not slowing down despite already signing Ekitike, Florian Wirtz, Frimpong, and Kirkes. The Liverpool news has been heating up like crazy today. Alexander Isak refusing to return to Newcastle United, a new bit expected from Liverpool. But the big news and developments has been at centre back, which to be honest is becoming more important for Liverpool, with Kwanzaa not being replaced, Matip never being replaced, Konate injury prone. Liverpool need some reinforcements there, and big updates on Marc Guehi wanting the move, ready to go to Liverpool. Liverpool closing in on that deal of around maybe 35 million, which is a very good price for Marc Guehi, who obviously is going for that much because he's got 1 year left on his deal. But not just Marc Guehi, they're looking at a young centre-back in Leoni. So in today's video, I'm going to break down all the Liverpool transfer news because I'm not going to lie, them getting Guehi, Isak, and a generational young centre-back on top of the business they've already done this window is just, it's worrying. I think, there's questions over, depth maybe in certain areas after that. Maybe Gravenberch depth, you could say, but I don't think that is really an issue. As long as Gravenberch doesn't get injured, I think Frimpong can cover Salah, Rio can cover left wing, Gakpo, Ekitike can play on the left. I think Liverpool are pretty sorted. I think the only position they needed to do was another player in attack, which is set to be Isak, and of course, Guehi in defence. But let's break down the Liverpool news, and I'll give you my thoughts on it. So Lewis Steele said that Liverpool are very close to a deal with Crystal Palace for Marc Guehi. Steve Parish drives a hard bargain, as we know, but the clubs have discussed add-ons and deal structure. Player is keen and up for challenge to be in best 11, especially in World Cup year. Paul Joyce, who's probably one of the best Liverpool journalists in the space, also said that talks are underway between Liverpool and Palace for Guehi. Deal could potentially be 30 to 35 million, including add-ons, which is crazy. Imagine a deal of 30 million, including add-ons. That means you could potentially be getting him for like 20, 25 million up front, which is absolutely ridiculous for a player of Marc Guehi's quality. Fabrizio Romano then came up with an update on Marc Guehi and said that Liverpool are close to an agreement with Crystal Palace for Marc Guehi, package of around £35 million. Liverpool have agreed personal terms with Marc Guehi, and the deal could be done soon. So that was probably the biggest update in regards to Marc Guehi. £35 million, that would include add-ons, so they might only have to pay 25 million up front, which gives them funds to go and make this bid for Isak. And maybe once they get the Guehi deal done, and they get the Guehi deal done for maybe 25 million up front, maybe they will make this bid for Isak. We will talk about Isak later on. But personal terms have been agreed. That was the big question. It always felt that Guehi wanted Liverpool and he was going to join Liverpool. The personal terms agreed is probably the big one for Liverpool with World Cup football coming up. But I think you'll see that he'll get minutes with Konate. I think Konate's physically stronger and faster than Guehi, but I think Guehi is a long-term fit, will probably take Konate's place because Konate can be injury prone. He is potentially leaving for Madrid next year, so Slot might want to start playing Guehi more. I think Guehi is such a good centre-back that he will get minutes at Liverpool, particularly with all the games coming up. So Guehi wants to join Liverpool. He's ambitious. He believes in himself, even with the World Cup year, that he could start and get in there. And I think he could partner Van Dijk well. I think he could partner Konate well if something happened to Van Dijk. So looks like Liverpool are going to get Guehi for 35 million. We could get Here We Go tomorrow. So if we do, maybe I'll make a video talking about Guehi in more detail and why I think it's a good signing. But I want to talk about other things Liverpool are doing, because it's not just Marc Guehi. Like, they're not stopping, guys. Talks on between Liverpool and Parma for Leoni. Giovanni Leoni is keen on a move to Liverpool, said Romano earlier today, and negotiations between Liverpool and Parma for Leoni are proceeding with confidence. Now, I'm not going to act like I've watched loads of Leoni or I know a lot about him, but his numbers are very good for a young centre-back. His aerial duel numbers, his physical dominance looks very good. He looks like he could do well in the Premier League. The question is, are Liverpool going to buy him now and loan him out for another year? Is that what they're going to do? Are they going to loan him back out to Parma for another year? That wouldn't shock me, to be honest. A bit like Mamadashvili, you brought him, you loaned him out for a year. I still kind of think you need two centre-backs because I don't know when Joe Gomez is back. If Joe Gomez was fit right now, you'd be fine with Guehi, Gomez, Konate, Van Dijk going into new season. I always think every top club wants 4 centre-backs going into a season, but with Gomez injured, maybe you look at bringing him in now, but I think with a young player, he'll still probably want minutes. So I wouldn't be surprised if you loaned him out for another year, or you may bring him in now. We will talk about that later on. But obviously, some people thought that Liverpool looking at this young centre-back meant that they weren't going to go and get Marc Guehi, which is kind of crazy because I think Liverpool really want someone that is going to challenge Konate and potentially take his place. And I don't think you can rely on an 18-year-old to do that. But Ian Doyle and Ben Jacobs both said that the plan is to sign Leoni and Guehi. The deals are separate. Signing Leoni doesn't mean Liverpool don't get Guehi. These are Liverpool's defensive targets. They want both. One is for now, one is for the future. One is for, like, Van Dijk's aging, Konate could go, Kwanzaa's gone, Matip is gone. Add smart from Liverpool. Get Guehi in now, because even though Guehi's young and 24, he's got so much Premier League experience for a 24-year-old. He's captain his club. He's a true leader. In 2 years' time, he could take over from Van Dijk. And Leoni could potentially play next to him in the future. And there'll be probably more centre-backs coming into Liverpool next summer. It's smart. But Liverpool are looking at both. We are going to talk about Isak in a second, guys. But apparently Liverpool are really serious about Leoni and could offer around 30 million euros, which is about 25 million pounds, according to Sky Sports. And Marc Guehi and Leoni have both said yes to Liverpool, according to Fabrizio Romano. So that is the latest on Liverpool's centre-back situation. I think that was the priority at Liverpool was the centre-back situation, because they are lacking depth there. I think their attack is brilliant. I think you can argue if Isak isn't in the door, they will probably need to bring another attack in for depth, because you've got Ekitike, Gakpo, Salah as your front three, and then Rio and Yamoa's there. Chiesa hasn't gone yet, but it's not really in Slot's plan. Frimpong can play on the right wing. You probably need another option in attack, because Nunez and Diaz have both gone. But it's believed you will get Isak. You're still in for Isak, and I think the whole Isak situation is Newcastle don't want to sell him. Newcastle aren't going to make it easy. But I think Newcastle, the fact that they were willing to put so much on Benjamin Sesko, and the fact that they're looking at strikers out there, looking at both Sam and Visser, there's a feeling they're going to get Visser. I think once Newcastle get a striker in the door, they've even been linked to Rasmus Højlund today, which is crazy. I think they may let Isak go. I don't know if they'll let him go for 120 million. They still want, I think, 140. But Liverpool are ready to come back in for Isak. Liverpool still active for Alexander Isak, said Ben Jacobs. Liverpool prepared to bid at least 120 million if offered encouragement. So that's at least 120 million. So potentially they take it to 130 in add-ons, which is just below Newcastle's asking price to try it on. I think Newcastle was 140 million on go away, which is fair. Obviously, Newcastle are not happy with the way that Liverpool have been dealing with the situation, but then Isak is obviously not happy with Newcastle, because apparently Isak told Newcastle and Eddie Howe at the end of the season he wanted to go, waited patiently, they weren't letting him go. This is why he's acting out. Who knows? I feel like there's so much drama on Isak that I don't know what to believe. Like, Newcastle sources are putting out this and that. Liverpool sources are putting out this and that. It's just an absolute mess, an absolute drama. The way I look at it is Isak wants to go. Newcastle want to make sure they get the striker sorted. Once Newcastle have got their replacement sorted, if Liverpool bid a nice amount, they'll let him go. I think that's what the stance is. I don't think Isak, and it has been reported that he's refused to play if he doesn't get his move to Liverpool. I don't think he'd do that because it's a World Cup year, but you never know. So, what has Romano said on Isak? I think Isak to Liverpool has a very good chance to happen. Isak rejected 3 or 4 new contract proposals from Newcastle. He only wants Liverpool. I always said maybe what Newcastle could do, because they were struggling to find a replacement with Sesko, Ekitike, Delap, João Pedro all gone. I always said maybe what Newcastle could do, and this is what Brighton did with Caicedo before he went to Chelsea that summer, although they didn't put a release clause in there. But Arsenal were trying to get Caicedo. Caicedo was really angry. Brighton then gave him this new contract. He went to Chelsea the following year. The only way I think Newcastle could get around it, I thought, which clearly isn't the case now because he's rejected 3 to 4 contract offers, but I thought maybe if Newcastle gave him a new contract on 250k a week, 100 million release clause, you get to stay and play Champions League football this year, you can go to Liverpool next year, we're in the Champions League. I thought maybe Isak would agree to that. But he's not. He keeps rejecting that. So maybe Liverpool have been in Isak's ear saying, look, we are going to get the deal done. We are going to pay out. We need to sort out Nunez. We need to sort out Diaz, which they've sorted out. We need to figure out what the price of Guehi is because we need to get a centre-back in. Then we'll go for you. Maybe that's why. But the fact that Newcastle are giving him new contracts and he's rejecting it says to me that Isak is very set on, I don't care about the money. I don't care about anything. It looks like Isak is desperate for Liverpool. And David Ornstein dropped a bomber this morning. Isak adamant he will not play for Newcastle again, even if window closes without exit. 25-year-old views Newcastle career over. No wish to reintegrate. I mean, we've just had that as a Manchester United fan with Garnacho. I think it's dickhead behaviour. I know Isak wants his move, and I think he's just threatening that to get his move. I think if he didn't get his move, he probably would play. It's a World Cup year. It's a pivotal stage in his career. He wants to play. But that is Isak's message to Newcastle of let me go. I really want to go. I'm not coming back. I think Newcastle missing out on Sesko Ekitike, João Pedro has made Newcastle more reluctant to sell. I think had Newcastle got Ekitike, I think they probably Isak could have potentially been gone by now, even though I think the plan was to have Ekitike and Isak on the same side, which would have been insane, which now is Liverpool's plan, which is just not fair. I think it's a situation of Newcastle sort their deal for Vissa. I think it's Vissa who Newcastle are going to get, and I think they might let Isak go, but only for the right price. Newcastle are playing hard. They're playing hard. And yeah, but the interesting thing is, obviously, I think there can sometimes be a bias in reporting towards the big six clubs. But Craig Hope is the Newcastle journalist, and I think he's probably been the best Newcastle journalist at reporting the situation. He's briefed by Newcastle, and he said that Isak can see that the club are trying to facilitate his sale by signing a replacement, which would in turn be the domino for Isak to go. So I just think it's a situation where Newcastle have accepted that Isak's going to go. There's probably a price on there that they're waiting for Liverpool to meet, but they're not going to let him go unless they find a replacement. Maybe Isak's getting frustrated because Newcastle's search for replacement isn't exactly going well. Maybe that's why he's getting frustrated and keeps pushing. But Newcastle, look, I think Newcastle will sell. I think Liverpool will get him. It is a bit of a drama, but I can see why Newcastle want to make sure they've got the replacement secured up anyway. But yeah, that is all the news. I will do a video on Marc Guehi if Liverpool sign Marc Guehi. I think he's a very good centre-back. I think he's a leader. I think he'd be very good for Liverpool. I think he could pretty much push Konate out the side if I'm going to be completely honest. I think he's that good of a centre-back. Well, Leoni I don't know a lot about, but if you sign him, I will do a little bit of research on that. And obviously Isak, do I even need to talk about how good Isak is? And if you sign Isak, which I think you might, I will definitely do a video on Isak and Ekitike playing together, because somebody was telling me that Ekitike won't get minutes if Liverpool sign Isak, which I think is BS. I think they can play together. Marmoush and Ekitike play together. Yeah. But anyway, thank you for watching today's video. See you next time. Bye.